Hi everyone. In today's video, I'm going to talk about who is most attracted to Islam. We're going to go a little deeper into the psychology of what kind of consciousness, what kind of people, and what kind of general person or level of spirituality is really attracted to Islam. I'm going to go a little back and we're going to describe exactly how and where Islam came. It's going to be a little brief explanation. So if you remember that tribe Quraysh and that whole Arab community, that whole Arab, during the 7th century, were tribal, as we have discussed several times. They're very tribal. But like, what kind of laws and governments did they have? Really none. It was just like a accepted code of conduct, but otherwise it was kind of the law of the jungle, really. There was a lot of division, fear, and the only course to action was actually fighting or warring. Even among families, and like tribes. It was very similar, as we mentioned, to the Law of Jungle. So maybe you were watching that American primeval show. Maybe that's a good experience of like what it was really like, in that level of people, that level of interaction. And this was the group of consciousness that really the whole idea of Islam came to. So you can see, like, they weren't, some very enlightened monks or anything. They were a very warring tribe, a very violent, and that's where it came to. This was really to upgrade them. And now we move forward, we jump to today's consciousness level. It's a very different, very expanded, very elevated level of consciousness that most people have now. But if you look at having to practice religion, it is very much rooted at that level of consciousness. It is very much rooted in that, era, and in that whole program of people that was coming to. Those were their issues or social problems and their level of like spirituality, really. Like, can you really make a high jump to being like a Tibetan monk or something? I mean, it was a really big upgrade for them, actually, Islam. So now when we look at today, those people who are very much into it or loyal to the idea of Islam are actually animating those tribal mentality, those tribal ideas, that whole level of consciousness of 7th century Arabia, actually. That's what they're actually animating. That's what they want to, bring out. Those are the characteristics, the mentality. That's what they want to animate. All those fears and ways of living, of interacting with each other. They want to express it, and now will actually force that level of mentality, the law of the jungle kind of concept, the whole fear, fighting, and worrying, the whole warring consciousness to actually everyone around them, because now they have adopted that level of perspective, that mentality, that level of consciousness. Now that is how they actually see everyone else, the world around them, as a warring tribal place. And they are here living out that 7th century consciousness, that warring tribal fighting mentality. If you really think about it, in order to run the whole Islam program, you kind of need also that environment, right? Like, how else are they going to enact out those verses? How else are they going to feel the righteousness and like the jihad? How else are they going to feel that? In order to animate those verses and channel that whole righteous, holy fight, they need to create those divisions. They will actually now look very hard and to find the fitna and get a chance to live out the better than thou kind of consciousness experience, just like how Muhammad did, just like how the Muslims in the early 7th century did. They really found all the faults and differences and everything. If it was not exactly as the way they saw it, they enacted out the whole warring and, the whole ghazwa, the tribal like fights, consolidating the whole thing. That's how they lived it. So the Muslims actually who really feel that, like when they're reading those stories, that's what they want to channel. They want to channel those experiences. They want to relive those lofty scenarios of like how, this great Sahabi did it, how he fought, how he did it. It was like, there's all these, of course, bravery stories, and that's what they're kind of conditioning, and that's what they want to live out, actually. Most young teens, or, as we discussed earlier, who were running away to join all these crazy, groups, that's what they're really trying to do. They want to live out that whole lofty scenario experience, that whole story where they get to be the hero. and being this amazing spiritual Muslim leader. One way example I like to show you is like even the countries who have like are predominantly Muslim, how who are completely converted, like they're all Islam, they should be able to relax and live out the next level of spirituality, but they actually are not able to do that because, as I am explaining, that Islam is very much rooted in the conscious of warring, jihad, and always trying to find the fitna. So even countries that are completely fully Muslim, instead of relaxing and building to the next level, they don't really have that. They just want to live in that 7th century warring tribal mentality, and they sort of want to keep reenacting that whole Muhammad winning over all the bad people and like consolidating and making one big true righteous Islam. So like Pakistan, they could just sit and relax actually and move on and now come to the new era, but they need to fight and war because they need to channel that whole struggle, the fighting, and like eradicating the fitna, really run the program of that consciousness where they're always like finding faults. They're having to fight enemies, all these imaginary enemies, even though the whole country is Muslims. Now we have to find differences. So now they have to okay, what else is the differences? Difference in sects, difference in ideas, ideology, even within Islam. So now they need to relive that. So they're going to find out. They're going to really focus on those differences. And here, lo and behold, now they get to do their jihad. In essence, in order to practice actually, this religion or this program, you have to sort of downgrade your level of consciousness to that 7th century Arabia mentality. You have to really see the world as an ugly, warring place. Everyone's out to get you kind of mentality. It's so hard, God is like really enjoying and wants you to see the struggling and fighting for him. That's really the whole level of spirituality that we have here. So in essence, for people who are actually attracted to this program, there are a lot of examples that I'm going to be sharing in this video. The little bit spiritual high that they feel is actually a step up from where, the consciousness level that you have to sort of run. So that little bit of high that they're getting, they feel is like, oh my God, this is actually true. I do feel like the spirituality is working for me. I do feel like a good person. But in essence, you also have to be at a certain level, You are running that program. If you look at all the teachings and ideas and the way they describe human behavior, the way they look at other people, it is a very downgraded level of consciousness actually, and that's where you're looking at everyone from that level. There is a limit to how good you actually can feel, how high or how spiritual or what level can you really ascend to if you are running the religion or Islam program. Most people are actually stuck, and in their soul truly wants to elevate. It truly wants to now expand. They do not feel comfortable in that very small, tight, downgraded level of consciousness. They don't feel good in that anymore. And they feel like, well, I know, like I know there's more, and I can feel there's more. I am capable, and I have a lot of spirituality, and I know I can feel outside of this box. The best example that I can think of is, how for our levels of consciousness and people, is how at one point we had the Nokia phone, that old phone that had very basic functions that, like the kind of screen it had, the kind of games it had. If you remember playing the snake game. So the snake game is something like, I would say, how a religion or Islam was actually. You wanted to play that game, so now you had to have that level, or you had to have basically the old Nokia phone program software. But actually today, where we are now, our level of evolution and consciousness has really far expanded beyond that old program, that old phone. Today's consciousness is something like, like the next generation iPhone. We are multitasking, we are faster, the capabilities are unlimited. Like, we can run so much more, we can do so much more. Our spirituality level is so already, beyond that. And now for some people who really want to run Islam or, play that snake game, they really have to go to the old Nokia phone downgraded level in order to play that game. And that's what most people are stuck at. They're saying that I know I can do so much more. I can already, I'm capable of so much more. My heart is so much far expanded already. I need another level of consciousness. I need a new upgraded level of spirituality. And here I'm forced to play this old snake game. And now I'm just like embellishing it and saying how amazing and like, it's cool and it's this but it really is just no longer serving its purpose. And I really don't want to play that game anymore. So now I'm going to give you like a few examples of how, a lot of people have to downgrade their consciousness and how they sort of don't even realize. One of the most famous examples, I think, like defenders of Islam, when they're like, if polygamy, for example, right? Like polygamy is like a really outdated and a completely nonsensical against evolution, against evolutionary human behavior and the psychology actually of men. Generally, men are actually monogamous. That's not something you're going to hear, blasting on Muslim channels. But here they'll give you all these excuses. And the answer that most people have in response to why polygamy, they're, well, is it nice to have, like, is it then you might have to keep girlfriends, right? You might have to keep multiple girlfriends. And I want to say, excuse me, sir, which religion is this that asks you to keep multiple girlfriends? Because you're like, I'll choose the lesser evil of having multiple wives, That's the kind of consciousness they have. It's like, I'm going to be the lesser evil here, and I'm going to now have, multiple wives instead of having multiple baby mamas. So in essence, if you look at it from that perspective or from that downgraded consciousness, you do see it as an upgrade. You're like, wow, Islam really gives so much benefits. Like, because now I don't have to be a girlfriend, I can be a polygamous wife, But really, that's for a certain level of consciousness. Like, it was either this or that. And I want to let you know, like, please let me know this religion that allows you to have multiple girlfriends or encourages that. If you told a few Muslims, they probably would convert to that religion. The next point I wanted to bring up is, it's kind of an interesting, a lot of Muslims were boasting about how so many prison converts were actually, turning to Islam. And for the people who really want to have a deeper thought, they might just think like, why? Why are all these criminals really so attracted to Islam? Why is this level, that level of consciousness that allows you to do like a warring jungle, law of jungle fighting thing? Why is that like, easily relating to Islam? In an essence, it was a step up for them, that's like the next level for them. That consciousness feels very attracted, and they're like, yeah, that's actually because my level was here. I was a criminal, and now I don't have to be a criminal. I can step up to being a Muslim because that's a lesser thing here. It really relates to me and gives me the tools and the consciousness to, expand from this to here. So that's some food for thought. Like, why are criminals actually the ones who are so attracted to Islam? In the same way how Islam makes you see a lot of people as, the other, the fear, we have to fight them. There's the only options like warring or tribal wars. In fact, if you want to think about it, Islam actually said it was okay to steal and rob as well. So, like that's their level. So for a lot of people who want to defend, you're like, all you have really to defend is a step down. You only have basically another evil or a lesser evil. And you, as a Muslim, running that program, get to choose the lesser evil, and you are so happy about it. But most people actually are way beyond that. They are not making those decisions between those two options. Their spirituality level is way expanded, and they do not resonate with having to downgrade that consciousness. Actually, that's what most people have to understand. Is like, for a lot of people, when they do not resonate with Islam, it actually feels like a downgrade for their consciousness, especially if they were spiritual people beforehand. So I'm going to end this video here, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.